Do you ever hear words of wisdom echoing through your mind? You know, the voice of your grandparents or teachers that say that one phrase over and over that's now stuck forever in your memory. These sage words have a way of seeping through our subconscious, guiding our life decisions and helping us through difficult times. Now, I want each of you to take a moment and think of the best piece of advice you've ever received. Think of those words that you pull from when times are hard and you need a little encouragement or a pick-me-up. Let me give you an example. I was a 17-year-old high school senior from Northampton County. After being accepted to several colleges, I made the decision to attend North Carolina State University. Now, as you can imagine, I was very excited. Yet, moving away from all I'd known and commencing on this new adventure, I was equally nervous. My high school only had 750 kids, and soon I'd be placing myself on a campus with over 25,000 students. One afternoon during my final semester of high school, I went to my classmate Tammy's house to work on a project for English class. Now, I assure you we were working, but as with teenage girls, we were also talking. I was going on and on about my anxiety of a new school, new people, harder classes, and so many students. Tammy's mother was in the room adjacent to where we were. Overhearing my angst, Mrs. Woodard stepped into the doorway and said very casually, "You may not be the cream at the top, but at least you're in the churn. You may not be the cream at the top, but at least you're in the churn." Now, Mrs. Woodard probably never knew the impact those words had on me, but I have carried them with me from that moment. They helped me through undergrad when I felt inadequate and underprepared. And I continue to hear those words whenever imposter syndrome creeps in. Her advice helps to remind me that though I may not always be the best, I am enough. Now, the process of learning from the past to build the future is rooted in the West African concept of Sankofa. Taken from the Akan tribe of Ghana, loosely translated, it means go back and get it. Now, as humans, we have a propensity to invent and explore. We are ingenious beings, creative and curious. Just think, in the past 20 years, we have introduced computers and online learning, transitioned to platforms such as Canvas and Google Classroom as modes of delivery, and incorporated applications such as Kahoot and Desmos into our instruction. And though I am supportive of all these new innovations in education and learning, I believe in the great wisdom of pausing and turning to the direction from whence we came in order to remember, reset, and realign to what is important. The Akan tribe understood the importance of learning from the past to build the future. And I believe now is the time to do the same. We must go back and get it. Education is not just my passion. I believe it's my purpose, and I am not alone. There are thousands of educators in this district, state, and country, all with that same purpose: to teach, guide, and inspire. However, we cannot ignore the fact that there are some challenges, and walking in that purpose can be difficult at times. In the challenging world that is post-pandemic teaching, I believe it is necessary for educators to look to the past to positively impact and improve the future. Now, I go back 20 years to 2004 when Wake County Public Schools initiated the 3 R's: relevance, rigor, and relationships. They are my foundation and have served me and my students well all these years. I am what some would call a unicorn. This is my 29th year in education. 26 of them having been spent at the same school. I am not old per se. I like to think of myself as seasoned. I was born in the 70s, a child of the 80s, raised by the 90s, and blessed to experience the 2000s. Yet the students who sit before us now were born in the 2000s, shaped by a global pandemic, and were operating cell phones and tablets before they could form whole sentences. They are children of a technological age. Enter the first R, relevance. Now, when you're scrolling through your social media, you quickly pass by posts that you don't relate to. You have no point of reference. But the ones that you stop and interact with, they matter to you. You feel connected. They are relevant. Our students are no different. The world and all its knowledge is at their fingertips. From their point of view, why is learning what we're presenting important? That information is a simple Google search away. In English class, they ask, why do I have to read Shakespeare? In history, they ask, what does a battle that was fought in 1918 have to do with me? And in math, they ask, who actually uses the Pythagorean theorem? Okay, that one sorry. If students do not understand the why of what they are learning, then they simply won't. Though the answer to the question, what is the theme of Romeo and Juliet, can be found with a few keystrokes, a chatbot cannot teach the importance of truth or the consequences of conflict. AI cannot teach empathy. As educators, it is our job to not only help our students understand why learning is important, but that it is a lifelong endeavor. This is done by connecting the learning curriculum to their lives and communities, local and global, and by building bridges to real life. Now, once you get them to see that things are relevant, there is more buy-in, and students will work hard to reach the bar that you set before them, regardless of how high. Some will reach it, others won't. But oh my goodness, imagine the growth in the attempt. Now that you've gotten them to see relevance, rigor can step in and up. At a recent faculty meeting, I picked up this gem from a coworker. Rigor is defined by the student not the teacher. We must meet students where they are. If there's too much rigor, then there is frustration. And if there's too little, there is boredom and complacency. We have to have students work hard. I will never forget attending a district professional development a few years ago. Some of my peers were shocked to discover that I had my lowest level students reading Tolstoy and Guide de Maupassant. I was confused as to why. Greed, friendship, love, these concepts are universal, and my students understood them regardless of which world-renowned author presented them. Every student is capable of learning. We must embrace this fundamental belief. How do we get students to reach for that bar? Relationships. It is the core piece of the 3R puzzle. How do you know what is relevant to your students if you don't know them? How can you demand rigor if students don't trust you enough to know that that rigor is for their benefit and not punitive? As educators, our first steps are to discover who our students are and what gifts they have. Then we should work to support and illuminate those things. As Maya Angelou so eloquently put it, we should aim to be the rainbow in someone else's cloud. His name, Guillermo. He did not smile the first few weeks of class. He wanted me to know that he did not want to be there. Freshman year had not been kind to him, and he had developed a distrust of education and educators. Now that year, my PLT was practicing DEAR, drop everything and read. Guillermo was hesitant and reluctant, but our media specialist, Heather, discovered that he was drawn to nonfiction, particularly those pieces detailing the lives of hip-hop artists. She ordered every appropriate autobiography and biography she could find, and Guillermo checked them out as quickly as they arrived. His confidence grew, as well as his academic output in all his classes. That semester, Guillermo not only finished second in number of pages read, but he also passed all his courses, putting him back on track to graduate with his class. We saw him. We poured into him and his interest. And more importantly, we let him know that we believed in him and that if he was capable of success in that one class, that he was capable of success in every class. Now, I'm sure we all have these same success stories, but none of them would be possible if we did not take the time to develop relationships so that we could discover what is relevant and increase rigor. So no matter what you do, take the time to find your bedrock tools, those encouraging words, and use them to lift the people around you with intention and a desire to make a difference. Now, often when I find myself in need of a Sankofa moment and I must go back and get it, I seek the voice of my mother. And so I leave you tonight with one of her many wise sayings. Everybody knows their own people. So as you enter your classroom, know the people who sit before you. And remember, you are not teaching English or art or science. You are teaching children. Thank you.